So, materialism, how do you feel towards it and how do you think it works with faith, your faith? What's your opinion?
Got me, I'm not gonna lie, man. I think it got me, man. I think because I started in church quite early, I always knew what my identity should be in. But I guess being somewhat successful in music, you start off in this small church room and then next thing, you might be at the mobiles. You're on a red carpet. I'm wearing maybe, I don't know what I was wearing. Like,
you know.
let's say a humble fit.
Humble.
And the man them comes, you know what I'm saying? Got the Rollies, the APs, and all of a sudden you're looking sideways. You know what your identity should be in. But because you're around this stuff all the time, it starts to seep in. And I think I had that full sense of security that, like, I'm a Christian, man. I know this stuff. All of a sudden, I'm at a jeweler's getting a Rollie. And I'm like, I'm not rich like that, bro.
Yeah.
So what am I doing? I'm driving a Q5. Why do I need, like, the Nissan Qashqai's calm, bro? Do you know what I mean? Kids can fit in the same way. And I think there's nothing wrong with enjoying nice things, but when I really had to sit down, and it wasn't me that sat down, I went through a difficult time in my marriage where I had to, separate from my wife, and things were looking real tough. And I'm looking around, Rolex is there. This don't mean nothing, man. I'd rather have my family together. And it starts to put things into perspective. And I think so often I've never been judgmental, but I've always looked at rappers that might be talking about the money and I think just because I'm not doing that, I'm good. But actually, I'm a human being, man, and I've got flaws and weaknesses. And I was humbled in a rough way. And I think, to what you were saying, I just need to make sure that when things get back to a good place, I don't fall back into it and I remember it. You know what I mean?
Thanks. Wow.
Oof. This table is deeper, man. This table is deeper, man. I mean, firstly, I think some of the topics we're touching on is definitely resonating with me. But like, just for a moment, just from another perspective, like, some of us are rapping offline, about this topic. And it's like, for me, it's money isn't the root of all evil, it's the love of it. So I think having an appetite for material things, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just where the appetite is coming from, you know what I mean? So I keep thinking about when I grabbed my Merc, and I always wanted a Mercedes. And I'm not even a crazy car fanatic, but I always wanted a Mercedes. And for a while, my humility made me think, no, I shouldn't get it. And it took me a while to realize that, nah, that was just me practicing something that was coming from the wrong place, because I thought, as a Christian, I'm not allowed to treat myself or have good things. I think whatever you rationalize it is how you rationalize it is fine. But I think the purpose of why I desired the Merc again was bigger than any of the things that I wanted, because I realized that in the area I was from, I started to have a growing burden that I wanted to inspire the young people that I see every single day. And I remember just thinking, bro, I always wanted to drive around the ends and just put youths in my car. Just be like, bro, like, what you doing? And that was my motivation. The next day, I literally grabbed that car and I drilled down to the ends. And I saw how they reacted.
Yeah.
And I remember I was doing tolls for a period of time. I used to walk back, and I was still at my mum's bit. And I was walking back home and I see these youths and I just felt, I know how they are, bro. They need a bit of motivation. They don't want to just see me, Shadey, walk into them on toes. So that was my truth. And I grabbed the car and I put them in and I saw what they did. They played me their music, I drove them home, and all of a sudden I felt like the man. And I felt like a man from a healthy place, because I was actually putting on youths the way I wouldn't consider be put on when I was their age. So for me, when I think of materialism, I think there is an aspect of healthy motivation where I think young people need to see you doing well, because it's more than words for them, it's language. And for them, they need to have a proximity to something that they identify. And young people, they identify with success from a point of view of what you wear, and I'm not the crazy guy who's splashing out, but I think that's my purpose now. When I think of materialism, it is about what it does for other people from a healthy point of view. So what it does to motivate young people is an example. Another one is my girl. I love taking her on holiday. I love spoiling her and seeing what that does for them, you get me? I don't care for gifts, but I definitely find motivation and like doing nice things for people. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think...
Do you think we need to redefine success? Because
Maybe.
what I love about your story is the reason why you wanted that was to show them another way. But then sometimes I also think with youths, if you're working in Foot Locker, you know what I'm saying, earning 20, 25 bags a year, and you're working hard, you're providing from your family, that's successful. If you're playing your tunes in a, I don't know, Nissan Micra or whatever, that's successful. But growing up, we only viewed it as like the Air Max 90s, the BM, the Merc, you get me? So do you think that needs to be redefined?
100. And when I say 100, yes, because as you're saying, it's what people are measuring success by. And why that needs to change is because it makes people go and do things unnecessarily to achieve what they think success looks like, when in actual fact, as you're rightfully saying, it's not about having a Beamer or wearing Gucci shoes and all that, which, as I'm saying it, that's not a bad thing. But that shouldn't be what people see as you being successful, because you're not running yourself into debt. You end up, and especially from young, I always believe that we should try to condition people to know that they don't need to rush themselves to what they think success looks like. I feel like there should be stages to it, and I feel like when you reach your 50s is when you should be, I'm not saying it's bad if you have a Mercs or something or an Audi wherever it is at 20, but I feel like there's so much pressure on people to do it young because other young people seem to be doing it, that things have been misconstrued, you know? So people are trying to achieve things that you were meant to be doing when you were like 40 or 50 and trying to do it at 20 years old. Do you understand? So...
And just remember, they are young, it's in their capacity to think of what they see, you know what I mean? So I think I don't know if we have to, you know, spoil the process for them. Like, man likes what man likes. They should have the motivation to get it. But when you're a kid, you don't tell that kid how to manage that 10 bags.
No,
You put adults in front of them to help safeguard them to look after that 10 bags. You get me? They see my car, they can't drive yet. You know what I mean? And I'm at a place right now where I can make those decisions.
Yeah.
I think it's too much of a pressure on us.
Yeah.
If now we are starting to maybe change what we appreciate as adults now, because we know there's young people looking at us and they're like, they're gonna want to get it too from the wrong means. But come on, man.
Well, you are right.
We need to let them go through it, but hopefully in the perfect world anyways, it would have had errands and people to help them get there.
But then what about the ones that don't have?
This is what I'm saying. That's where mine goes.
Yeah,
and I think you're a good person to speak. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no.
But I just think it's intention. I think it's how you view money. It's your intention with it. And being in a private school, I saw, oh my gosh, like you'd get iPods in party bags, and as the normal thing, like the girls' first cars were Mercs, and they just barely turned 18, and that was just given to them. So I saw, from young, I just realised that for me, money wasn't it. I think the freedom it can bring, though, is a beautiful thing, what you can experience, what you can see, etc. But I think it's just your intention. And there's a book I read called Counterfeit Gods by Timothy Keller. And the way he breaks down money, and he literally starts off the book by talking about men, stockbrokers, bankers who've committed suicide, like they've got millions, but they're unhappy for whatever reason. And just talking about how if money's in place of God, that's when you've got the problem. So it goes back to intention. So I mean, I love money, but I've got a healthier relationship with it now than when I was younger. So I still want the backing. I'm joking.
I think for me, like, I've never really been materialistic. I think my motivation, even in coming into the space of music, was never it was always about impact for me, like, because I grew up in an area where there wasn't many opportunities, there wasn't many things given to young black girls like myself. And so I went to look for a lot of opportunities and a lot of things to get myself out there. So like, I'm really big on like the younger generation. Like, I used to mentor kids in my school. When I was in like year 11, I was mentoring the year 8s. Like, they knew that the youngers like this girl, like there's something about her, they're drawn to her. They're having behavioural problems. Let Esther, you know, chat to them. And that was where I found my motivation. Like, I still want to have a charity later on in life, helping young girls in underprivileged spaces and also young girls who have been like in abusive environments, because I grew up in quite an abusive environment. And I feel like that also is why I was running kind of like escapism, trying to look for something to express myself through. That's why I even started writing. And I started writing like in shoeboxes because I didn't want people to actually know what I was writing about. And I would put it in a shoebox, put it in my cupboard, hide it under the clothes. I don't want people to see. So it's like, I'm trying to find those girls and help those. So like my thing has never been materials. It's always been like a lot deeper, a lot darker, but there's been light at the end of it. And it's like helping others find that light. So yeah, it's more about empowering young women, like especially even like my music. Even when I wasn't doing faith-based, a lot of young girls would message me like, how did you start? Like, those are the things that make me feel like, yeah, I'm doing something great. Even when I wanted to start doing music, the scene, like all these artists doing it and impacting me is what made me want to do it. So yeah, I don't really relate to the material aspects of it as much.